Well, I was a little concerned today. It seemed a very self-congratulatory day. And I was reminded of an experience my son had in his senior year at Sidwell Friends, a local high school known for matriculating the children of presidents. And in his last year, he, as part of the Quaker tradition, was engaged in a service program, and he had to find a program to engage in. And so he got on the phone and started calling around to various do-good groups, and was asked by one of the people who answered the phone who his probation officer was. It seemed that she thought the only people who did public service were people who were involved with the judicial system, with the justice system in some manner, and it didn't occur to her that a nice, sweet boy at a Quaker school might be involved in such activities. I think one of the things that's transpired in the several years since he graduated is a greater appreciation in the community that service is not necessarily restricted to felons of one sort or another, but actually can be done with by people who do not have a criminal record. And so some congratulations is in order, but I wouldn't be too confident about it. I think there are an awful lot of people who haven't yet grasped the notion that public service is something that normal people would want to do of their own accord. So there's a long way to go, and it occurred to me again, as I began, that we may be congratulating ourselves a little too soon. Additionally, I think it might be nice to introduce a quotation from the book that first inspired me to thinking about a life of service. It's a novel, actually, and I recommend it. It's not something that's likely to be read very much these days, written as it was a few years ago. And it was by Leo Roston, and it's called Captain Newman, M.D., and it's a novel, as I say, and it's a story about a group of people during World War II. But the book concludes with an epilogue in which the protagonist in the book is thinking about his experiences during the war and what they meant for him. And he said that his experiences lifted ordinary men into a kind of grandeur because they were dedicated to a purpose higher than themselves. Most men, he writes, debase the pursuit of happiness by transforming it into a narcotic pursuit of fun. But there are those sublimely cursed by discontent, and to them, happiness comes only when they push their brains and their hearts to the furthest reaches of which they are capable. Nothing is more rewarding than the effort a man makes to matter, to count, to stand for something, to have it make some difference that he lived at all. Now, you'll forgive all the male references there. This book was written, as I say, some years ago, before we discovered women. But I think that the thought is sound, and it has served me well in many commencement speeches over the course of a career in higher education, and I recommend it to you. Because what most people don't understand is that through service, we actually are enhancing ourselves. This is a classic example of getting by giving. And it is that which I think informs the benefit of public service. The title of my professorship, I chose myself. Now, I had some selfish reasons for choosing it. I thought that since nobody would know what it meant, the dean to whom I now reported would never be able to know whether I was doing it or not. But it also liberated me, it seems to me, to invent a professorship in a new and innovative and novel way, and not simply do the kind of work that many of my colleagues do, which seems to me excessively quantitative and insufficiently spiritual. In any case, I think it's clear that the power of young people to change the world is unchallenged, and surely it is a concept which has been informing the good works of Christianity and other faiths for thousands of years. Young people are, after all, what we're all betting on. I say this now as a newly converted grandfather. I was surprised a year ago by discovering the joys of having a grandson who I'm going to New York tomorrow to celebrate his first anniversary, his first birthday, and I'm looking forward to it. He and I have terrific conversations. He talks nonstop, and it's not totally clear to me what he's saying, but he has, it seems to me, without being able to speak a knowledgeable language, a remarkable capacity for inducing people to do exactly what he wants them to do. He can get you to change him, he can get you to feed him, he can get you to hold him, and all of this without a single word of English, or any other language that I'm aware of. And I've got another grandson arriving on Memorial Day, God willing, and so I'm into thinking about the ability of young people to change the world in a very personal way. When I was a young dean at Boston University, my father called one day to say that my mother was preoccupied with some initiative of one sort or another, and he had the weekend on his own, and wouldn't it be nice if he could come and visit me? And being an only child, I had learned long ago that the only answer to such an invitation was yes. And so my father showed up, promising not to bother me in any way, which of course he immediately did by taking over the bed and relegating me to the couch. In any case, he was an early riser, my father, and so he got me up the next morning at 6 o'clock and suggested, wouldn't it be nice if we went out together to have pancakes? He liked pancakes. He's gone now, as you can tell by my tone. At any rate, so on the way out, I collected all the shirts I had worn during the week and put them all in a pillowcase and put a knot in the top. And we went off to the International House of Pancakes. But on the way, I stopped off at the laundry to drop off the shirts. We get to the International House of Pancakes, and my father, who'd been pretty cheery up until then, looked a little melancholy. And I said, Dad, is there something wrong? Thinking perhaps he had an unspoken agenda. And he said, well, yes. He says, I noticed that when you dropped off the shirts, you didn't count them. I said, yes. Well, actually, I've got a philosophy of life about that. And he said, really? He said, would you share it with me? I said, well, yes. It seems to me, I said, if you count the shirts, there are three possibilities. You gave the laundry 10 shirts, and you counted them, and then you get the shirts back, and you got back 10 shirts. So if you wasted your time counting the shirts going in, and you wasted your time counting the shirts going out, there was no purpose in counting the shirts. Or you gave the laundry 10 shirts, and then when you got your shirts back, you got 11 shirts. And then, of course, you have an ethical crisis because you have to figure out which is the worst shirt and give it back to the laundry. Or the possibility is you gave the laundry 10 shirts and you got 9 shirts. Now you have to take some action. There was no point in counting all the shirts if you're not going to do something about it. And so you go back to the laundry. Well, the first thing that happens is the fellow who you've been doing business with cheerfully with for some time no longer speaks English. Secondly, it turns out he's got some sign in which he tells you that you don't get more than $20 back for a lost shirt. But you spent $40 for the shirt, and this disturbs you, which obliges you, therefore, to take your trade to some other laundry, which is further away, not as good, and more expensive. So I made up my mind that I wouldn't count the shirts because it occurred to me that in the normal course of events, how many shirts can a person lose in a lifetime? 10 shirts. If you're really unlucky, you're going to lose 10 shirts. And if you're losing $40 a shirt, that's $400. You amortize the $400 over the lifetime with the counting of the shirts in and out. Better to forget about the $400 and get on with your life. So I don't count the shirts. So my father said, well, this is very interesting. He said he had a philosophy of life too on the basis of my philosophy of life. And I said, what was his philosophy of life on the basis of my philosophy of life? And he said, it must be nice, he said, to have a rich father. I tell you this simply to point out that notions about children and adults, notions about generational conflicts are not novel. In fact, it occurred to me that they weren't novel reading about them once, and it crossed my mind that there was a commandment which said, honor thy father and mother, and I concluded that this must have been a problem way back in biblical times, or else God wouldn't have bothered to have a commandment on this subject. And so therefore, children and parents must have been having issues even back in the days of the Bible. And so I conclude that we are always going to have the need for children to educate the parents and their elders about the new ways of the world. I am impressed by all of this remarkable reference to technology. I say this having a son who is a technical person for a living. He's just spent the last 5 years working for eBay and has just left them this week to go to work for LinkedIn. And I myself, in all the years that I was a university president, which is about 30 years, never touched a computer. I had no technology at all beyond the telephone. Now, when I say the telephone, I don't mean a BlackBerry, I don't mean a cell phone, I mean a telephone. If we're up to me, I'd had a rotary telephone, if anybody here remembers what a rotary telephone is. So then I discovered, and I had 3 secretaries, and the way I got my work done was by having 3 secretaries, most of whom were geriatric, actually, and still knew shorthand. Now, there's nobody who knows shorthand anymore. And in fact, when I stepped down from the presidency, all 3 of the secretaries retired, and they're all now in homes. But I was therefore obliged to learn how to do a variety of things that college presidents don't have to do, or didn't of my generation. And I had to learn how to use a computer and email and BlackBerry and cell phone, and much to the dismay of the one secretary who stayed with me, who was worried that she was going to become obsolete because I was answering all my own mail. And in fact, it led to a lot of problems because I would make appointments with people, and she would make appointments for me with people, and it turned out I would have 2 appointments for the same time on the same day at 2 different places with 2 different people. So we had to reconcile all of these challenges of contemporary time. What does all this have to do with the subject at hand? I've been asking myself that for some seconds now, hoping that I would be inspired by some epiphany that I could conclude on as I run towards the end of my time. And I am going, therefore, not having an epiphany, to share with you a story which I think is useful. This is based on an exchange between an American ship and a Canadian. The transcript runs as follows. The Canadians say to the ship, please divert your course 15 degrees to the south to avoid a collision. The ship replies, recommend you divert your course 15 degrees to the north to avoid a collision. The Canadians reply, negative, you'll have to divert your course 15 degrees to the south to avoid a collision. And the Americans reply, this is the captain of a U.S. Navy ship. I say again, divert your course. And the Canadians reply, no, I say again, divert your course. And the Americans say, this is the aircraft carrier USS Lincoln, the 2nd largest ship in the United States Atlantic Fleet. We are accompanied by 3 destroyers, 3 cruisers, and numerous support vessels. I demand that you change your course 15 degrees north. I say again, that's 15 degrees north, or countermeasures will be undertaken to ensure the safety of this ship. And the Canadians reply, this is a lighthouse. Your call. I thank you for your courtesy, and I hope I've been entertaining, if not inspiring. Thank you all very much.